We're joined by our newest ABC News political analyst, former RNC chairman and Trump chief of staff Reince Priebus, and former Democratic Senator and ABC News contributor Heidi Heitkamp. Thank you both so much for joining us tonight. The debate over abortion rights is once again on the ballot in some key states tonight. In Ohio, it's a direct ballot measure. In Virginia, it's become a major campaign focus in the legislative races. Senator, let's start with you. We saw Democratic candidates make some gains on the issue in 2022. Do you expect to see the same thing again tonight?
Yep. I think in 2022, it was the issue that drove the midterms. I think you're going to see Ohio dramatically saying no to a ban on abortion, enshrining it in their constitution. But I also think it's an issue in Kentucky. The attorney general who's running against the sitting governor has been very radical, no exceptions. He's since moderated that position. But I think if Andy Beshears gets a second term as Kentucky's governor, I think it's going to be driven by a pro-choice vote. So this is still a powerful issue for Democrats. But as you heard the woman, they're also thinking about the economy, and that foretells some troubles ahead, I think, in 2024. But I think tonight's going to be a good night for Democrats. We might even get a surprise in Mississippi.
Potentially so. And before I let you go with that regard, what do you think is going to happen in Virginia?
I think Virginia, I think the Democrats are going to take the Senate. I think that Youngkin was a fluke. I think people, we can talk about what happened with the McAuliffe campaign, but I think Virginia is definitely a very purple state leaning towards blue. If Northern Virginia turns out on abortion, I think that it's going to be a good night for Democrats in Virginia.
Reince, is this issue of abortion a potential liability, do you think, for Republican candidates? Have some of these abortion restrictions perhaps overreached?
Well, surprisingly, I don't disagree a whole lot with the senator. I think Republicans have been stumbling and bumbling on abortion now for a few years, and it continues. It was a confusing question on the ballot in Ohio. Clearly, that confusion didn't really do a whole lot for Republicans, and it looks like the ballot measure is going to go down in the Democrats' favor. As far as Kentucky's concerned, I agree with the senator that, yeah, there was also an abortion question there in Kentucky, and it was clearly in between Cameron and Beshear. It was clearly an issue in that debate. But I mean, you have to admit something too, though. Beshear and that name in Kentucky is a dynasty. Biden is a minus 33 upside down in approval. In other words, he's just a bad person to be connected to in Kentucky. And Beshear magically found a way to not get nationalized by the mood around the country. Actually, Trump is a positive +9 in Kentucky, and it wasn't enough to defeat Beshear. So I think what you're going to find tonight, and I think Tate Reeves probably wins in Mississippi. It's a toss-up in Virginia on the state Senate races. It's going to be a good night for incumbents. It's going to be a good night for the status quo. Popular incumbent governors will usually win, and that's what's going to happen tonight.
I want to go back to your thought on Ohio, saying that the language was confusing. Do you think that language is confusing on purpose? Because they really could just say, do you want to abolish abortion? Do you want to be able to have abortion? Yes or no, right?
Yeah, I mean, maybe. I don't know enough about what the drafters were thinking, but clearly if the language was, look, after 20 weeks, along with exceptions of rape, incest, life of the mother, that is an issue, that's a position that 75% of the American people agree with. 20 weeks, after 20 weeks, barring an exception, there is no abortion in this state. But that's not what this was. And what this said was that abortion would be illegal barring health concerns, and then everybody was debating what health concerns actually meant or didn't mean, and it was just a confusing mess. But aside from that, I'm not going to use that as an excuse. I mean, clearly stumbling around on abortion has not served the Republican Party well, And the Democrats have done an unbelievable job of taking that issue and using it in every single race across America. And they're micro-targeting on it. They're putting 10 people every 10 blocks. And they're gathering people up, and they're hammering Republicans on this issue. And Republicans have to figure out a way out of this.
I want to take a look at voter sentiment going into this election. 76% of voters say that the country's headed in the wrong direction. Reince, tomorrow night, 5 Republican candidates for president will gather on that debate stage in Miami. What is it that you think that voters are looking for, listening to hear from Republicans?
Well, I mean, clearly they're looking for an alternative to Biden. I mean, that's without question. But the other issue is, who can truly challenge Donald Trump? And what's different about 2024 as opposed to 2016 is that Donald Trump was never above 50% in a multi-candidate race in 2016. Now he's at anywhere from 50 to 61%. So as long as there's going to be 5 or 6 candidates on that stage, they're not, barring some unforeseen thing that we just don't know about right now, they are not going to be able to take out Trump with 5 or 6 people on that stage. And the president knows it. And that's why he's not going to the debate. He's going to let them fight it out. And one other important point for your listeners. The Republican Party, unlike the Democrat Party, most of our states are winner-take-all states, meaning that when a candidate wins a plurality of the vote in a particular state, they get all the delegates, and delegates choose the nominees of these parties. So it is not proportional. So if Donald Trump gets, 38%, in most of these states, he's going to get all of the delegates. And that's something to keep in mind as we move forward.
Senator, want to go back to it again. 76% of people say the country's going in the wrong direction. Is this dissatisfaction a serious threat for President Biden in 2024?
I think that the people are saying they're not satisfied with either choice. But, to Reince's point, look, a majority, in fact, over 50% of Republicans don't see any need to replace Donald Trump as the leader of their party. And think about this. When you think about Donald Trump kind of moving forward, one of the arguments that they're trying to make on that stage, that debate stage, is Donald Trump can't beat Joe Biden. He can't win. Guess what? That's not what current polling says. And so, Donald Trump goes into this being basically the presumptive nominee. Biden goes into this being the presumptive nominee. And quite frankly, the rest of the country goes, why just these 2 guys? And I think that's the kind of malaise that we're in. And when you ask people, is it headed in the wrong direction? They don't see leadership in either party that's going to lead them out of this problem.
Senator Heidi Heitkamp, RNC chairman, former RNC chairman, Reince Priebus, we thank you so much for your time and insight.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.